artists, one who does the characters and assets, and one who does the backgrounds. So we're hoping that with the Kickstarter we can add another artist who does graphic design. Well, it doesn't really have to be a full-time job, but we want to get someone to improve our UI, and we don't even have a final logo yet. If you will notice, the font on our Kickstarter is different from the logo we're using now. So we want to have a proper logo as well. How many endings? Every chapter actually has a couple of endings. It's hard to call them good and bad endings because we're mostly in the gray area. That we don't want the decisions to be clear cut, that this one is good, this one is evil, because there's really no fun in that anymore, especially when you played games like Mass Effect, Skyrim. So with this one, we want the choices to be really hard on the players. Like, I want to talk about Persona 3, but I might spoil some people. But there's really a decision at the end of that game that's really hard to make. You don't even have an option, but it's really hard to make at the very end.
I couldn't stop ignoring AG and just playing with the background, but I can ignore you, so I will. Okay,
So,
have another question here from Zach.
Yeah, so this is a lot like Hope was telling me about this a little earlier, and it is a lot more like a traditional point-and-click adventure game post, I would say, like Myst, so like mid-90s sort of adventure game. And I'm wondering, like, obviously you guys played a lot of point-and-click adventure games, and I'm just, similar to my earlier question, like, which ones were you a big fan of the first-person viewpoint on a point-and-click? Had you thought about making this third person? Does the engine even allow that? That kind of a thing. Like, just in terms of, like, more of a point-and-click adventure game, more than you would see from any kind of a visual novel. How did you approach that?
well, since our major inspirations are Ace Attorney and Zero Escape, it was a natural decision for us to do it in first person. We really, since we were just starting out, we needed to have a clearly defined target audience. Like, we had to play it safe a little bit. So we're hoping that fans of Zero Escape and Ace Attorney are gonna enjoy our game. Though I'd like to add that some people might think that because we're inspired by Ace Attorney, there's gonna be court battles. There's not gonna be court battles, but then people are gonna be lying to you. You're gonna find evidence to use against them to, like, find the contradiction and prove something to them. So when we announced this game, like back in November, December, people said it had a Danganronpa vibe. I didn't really even know that game by then, so I looked it up. So it's like literally combining Zero Escape and Ace Attorney. With our game, it's not like that. It's still its own game, but we're glad that some people have found the inspirations we take from, like how our sprites are like. We have this character who is like Godot from Ace Attorney, and then the puzzles.
So, I've noticed that it looks like there's some heavy theming. Oh, everybody's telling me to save the game right now. Okay, give me a second. Oh Lord. Okay. So I noticed that there's some heavy theming about, I guess, maybe regret and the permanence of death going on right up front. Because, it seems like there's been a horrible apocalypse, and then this guy's sister has died, and there's this device, this Noah's Ark mythical device that can go back and change the past. And did you have, without spoiling anything, did you have any particular overarching ideas in mind? Any like I guess, literary influences or anything like that when playing with this theme specifically?
Well, one thing that would come close is the anime Cross Game. It's a baseball anime, and in that one, someone dies at the very beginning, and the entire anime is it revolves around that death. But it's not overimposing. It's not like it doesn't get to the point that it's annoying because everyone keeps talking about that dead girl. Everything feels natural, but there's this underlying theme of someone's death that's driving the characters. That's most of their motivations are affected by that death early on. And then there's also this other baseball anime, Major. That one isn't so big on the guy who dies at the very beginning, but yeah, someone also dies in that game. There was this I was in at some point I was really into into baseball anime, so I watched a bunch of them. A few of those would be Cross Game, Major, and some dramas 2H2. So I think while I didn't really pattern anything after Cross Game, I really liked how they did it, how the character dies at the beginning and it's so important to the rest of the story. So I guess subconsciously that's what I pulled out when I was trying to come up with a story for this game.
Cool. Well, are there any other questions we can pull from chat? Everybody offer them up now. So we're coming down, I think, the home stretch before we leave this bar and the game changes.
Well, someone's asking about. I've never played Danganronpa. I've watched a few videos on YouTube and the first episode of the anime. I wasn't really into it because it was so literally a combination of Ace Attorney and 999 that it's almost comical. I couldn't take it too seriously, and that is also not my thing. Here's another one. How do we deal with the stigma? That's why we make it clear, like in every copy that we send out, that it's a visual novel / adventure game hybrid. Because people are more fond of adventure games. They're more familiar with that than visual novels, because visual novels have this connotation of really just, hentai games. So yeah, that's very important to us to have people understand it's more of an adventure game, but it still follows the structure of Zero Escape, where there are major puzzle sections followed by a story section, then puzzles. Ace Attorney does that as well with the court battle. But during the story sections, there are also other smaller puzzles that you solve. Most of them are optional, and every action in the game contributes to what ending you'll get per chapter, and then your endings per chapter will determine the final ending. So we got a few endings lined up.
I guess if that's about it, I wanted to thank you very much for coming on the stream and talking Exogenesis. And people should download the demo and play it, because it is much longer than this. But that's the first swath that I know my way around. So unless you want to see me just sort of start randomly clicking things like an idiot and going in circles. So I'm not very good at these types of things. Then, but yeah, thanks a ton, Nick. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Is it Nicolo or?
Yeah.
I was hesitant because I was like, if I mispronounce his name, I'm gonna feel really dumb.
It's alright. Thanks for having us.
Okay, thank you very much for coming by, and everybody check out Exogenesis, support it on Kickstarter, and get the rest of the game made. So, take care.